right. Good afternoon, Speed Gaming 6. Me and the real Super Pleb are here with another round of Final Fantasy Randomizer's spring tournament. How you doing today, Pleb?
Pretty good. I'm excited to see this 1-2 matchup. I might end up racing one of these two players.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the nice things about doing commentary when you're actually in the tournament is it's an easy way to scout things. And Guelph already doing something spicy before we even started the race. That is a black belt rainbow.
That's can pan out really well in these flags or be very...
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to a combination of kind of having your leveling strategy in your head from the get-go, and a little bit counting on the seed to cause more problems for your opponent than not. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties, it looks like, on Mageius' side.
Wonder if he's having some stream issues or...
Yeah, I'll go ahead and ask him in the race channel just to make sure that everything's in order. It looks like it might be fine now, but we'll see what he does. Excuse me, as this gets rolling. So, yeah, Guelph pointing out in the channel, Mageius was waiting on lunch, so that might be the issue. Anyway, right off the bat, we see that that Mageius is going to be taking a fighter, and also a black belt.
Oh, this race is going to be spicy.
Uh-huh.
Both of them are opting for a white mage, too.
It's not a bad call. It's one of those things, even if you are comfortable with high power strategies, you know, I'm going to punch things as hard as I can, as quickly as I can. Alright, so, yeah. Now, it's one of those things, even if you're able to attack as quickly and hard as you possibly can, with these flags, we've seen a lot of situations where you definitely want that healing power on the white mage. Just because Topher can kill you at any time, and you kind of need those life casts. But,
Well, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Sorry for the long pause, as I've learned that I cannot both talk and type at the same time without transcribing my thoughts or saying what I'm writing out loud, neither of which is conducive to what I'm trying to accomplish. Alright, so... yeah, we'll get these runners going in about 30 seconds or so, but, well, probably close to 20 now, but anyway. Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting run all around, because it's going to be basically Red Mage versus Fighter in terms of which is going to be the most effective. And hopefully we won't get trolled too badly, because I would like to eat a more substantial lunch. But I also rolled this seed, so there's no telling what's going to happen to these people.
Yeah, that's always the case.
But I do love the thematic naming they both have gone for on this. So, yep, weirdo, this is a woat seed. Don't get too excited. You know that I roll either feast or famine. Yeah, Pleb, what are you kind of hoping to see today? Anything particularly troll, or are you also hoping for a kind of quick one?
I'm hoping for a required canal in the bottom of ice. But they're pipe dreams at best.
So anyway, folks, I'm here today with my co-commentator, Satan. Really? Canal at the bottom of ice? And people say I'm a monster. Anyway, let's get our magic checks on. Ice 3, White Mage Learnable, Life, and Bane look to be the main benefits of the level 1 magic shops. Oh, and Confuse. Okay.
It's a kill a carry kit.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I always am in favor of seeing Confusion just because of carry. Because, like, most of the other status spells either don't have that much accuracy, which Confusion really doesn't have much accuracy either, or have a very flimsy duration. Whereas Confusion, once you hit carry with it, she's not going to break out of it before you're able to end the fight.
It looks like Mageius is first out.
Well, it looks like Guelph stopped off to beat up some imps real quick and get a little cash and experience. That's not a play I dislike. But let's see what we got waiting for us here in Temple of Fiends. Because it looks like it is money, and a heal pot. So, not really what you want to see. Now, that Bane can be really nice for just getting Garland out of the way real quick if you do bother to pop it. But Mageius is opting for the Ice 3 instead. And hi there, Speed Gaming 2. Y'all joined at just the right time for the beginning of this race. Mostly because if anyone has questions, this is a really good time to start asking them before we have to answer them 40 times. Go ahead.
Looks like we're getting an Oxy Hail from the King and a crown from Sarah.
Ah, the classic. I really don't want to have to go these places. Rewards. So, what we're probably going to go ahead and see is both of these runners make the trip over to Provoca and get that key item check. Also check those level 2 spell. Especially Guelph. Because right now, even though he has 2 characters who can learn white magic, one of them can't learn that life spell. Since that is locked behind class promotion. So, he's gonna be hoping that life 2 lands somewhere a little friendlier, or else he's gonna need to find that tail on that airship to really get the main use of that red mage.
Yeah, if you don't see Life 2 in level 2 or 3 Red Mage learnable, do you Dan the Red Mage off?
I wouldn't depend. Well, it would depend on the black magic, because the thing about red mages is because they, have pretty extensive access to the low-level black magic. Even if white magic's not great, they still have that value in terms of just blowing everything up. And with the party Guelph took, where that hi Cure 4, where that black belt is going to take a while to get online, you're going to be leaning on blasting a lot more than you would in, say, a fighter-focused party. So, Cure 4 and Zap, kind of the 2 main attractions here at level 2 black, or level 2 magic. Not bad. Honestly. But yeah, now it's one of those things, I don't think you Dan the red mage if you're doing a black belt rainbow, because you need that firepower.
It's a Bane coming out on the pirates, and it looks like they're all going to die to poisons.
Yeah, pirates. Worse than imps. Just in general, their statistics are terrible. But we do get a ruby for our trouble out of the pirate party, so that's interesting. So right now, the only progression we have outside of going over to the marsh cave is that crown. Get in the air or get a cow. So yeah.
We also have that crown check, and that could turn into.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that crown is the only real progression we have right now. So, we're almost certainly going to see both of these runners make the Matoya check into a Dwarf Cave check into a... Well, I guess I have to go to Elfland now. But yeah, now it's one of those things. I think part of the reason the pirates are as weak as they are is because, like, you know, in the vanilla game, you don't have a group attack spell at this point. So, in a rare case of actually having foresight on the developer's part, the pirates are actually built so that you can kill them with a, you know, level 2 or 3 party that doesn't have any group attack spells.
Though those pirates usually, one stays alive from an AoE instant death.
Yeah, but the good news for Mageius is he's got a light axe now on that fighter. That is going to be tremendous.
Makes Marsh all the more viable.
Oh yeah, now like that light axe, I think this tournament, if nothing else, has taught a lot of people the value of the light axe as a thing you hit things with, and not just a harm caster. Because I've seen a lot of seeds where that pops up relatively early and is basically your primary offense for most of, like, the early to mid-game. Just because it hits harder than pretty much anything short of the flame sword and above weapons. Its accuracy could be better. Its crit rate's nothing to write home about, but, you know, in the early to mid-game, you don't get a lot of swings anyway, so, those two things really aren't that important, and by the time you actually do start caring about how many times you're swinging, you've got something better to swing, so, like I said, people have definitely picked up on that over the course of the tournament.
And we're going to get a level 3 magic check from Mageius. Black magic, we've got Ice 2, Temper, Quad X, and...
Alright, so 3 of those 4 ain't bad. Get that rub out of here. We don't want it. And all we have is really Fog in level 3 white. So...
No Pro Rings or gold Cheerios yet.
That's actually... You do occasionally see that. I imagine we'll see one of those when we get to Melmond. Ooh, I saw Lock 2 and Lit 2 at level 4 black, and Exit available in white magic, in a slot that both red mage and white mage can learn. So, that's fairly solid. It's not necessarily like... This isn't necessarily the strongest set of 1 through 4 magic, but both players are going to have 2 life casters once they class change. Because you've got... Yeah. So, you got that going for you. Mageius has an early offensive advantage by being able to put that light axe on his fighter. Guelph is diving straight into this fight with Astos. And he's going to get a Thor hammer. So I know a lot of people consider the Thor hammer to kind of be the weakest link as far as the starting equipment in this flag set, or not in starting, incentive items in this flag set go, but do you like to see that Thor hammer early in these seeds?
Oh, most definitely. With not having a lot of attack magic. It's a wonderful AoE to have on your black belt or your fighter.
Yeah, and black belt's exactly where Mageius is going to stick that Thor hammer. So that's really nice for the black belt because, let's be honest, he's not doing anything for the next 45 minutes, hour.
At least.
I mean, it depends. Like, once you get that black belt to like 13 or 14, he's at least, out damaging the mages in melee.
Ooh, cremate arachnids. You do not want to see that.
Yeah, Mageius has already seen that. He was hoping the Thor's hammer would clean him out, and he did at least get turn order, but 3 of them lived.
And guelph already down in Marsh Cave.
Yeah, Guelph just immediately made this play. I'm not entirely sure he even went to fight Astos. I think he did, and I'm assuming he won that fight. But, yeah, we have seen that over the course of the tournament. That's actually been a play I've been seeing a lot of runners starting to make of just, if the seed gives you that early Elfland check, you make it, and then you just go straight to Marsh. You don't even bother with the dwarves. Because you already have to go all this way and deal with Astos, so you might as well see if you can fish some value out of the Marsh Cave. Because I think the actual reason... Okay. Now, I think the actual reasoning is along the lines of it takes longer to make the trip back to get to Marsh Cave if you have to go there than to just go there the first time. If I'm not crazy.
Oh, you're not crazy. That's definitely a very viable play, and it's just better density than
Yeah. What I do like about it too is it gives the opportunity to gamble if you know your opponent's an early marsh diver. Like if you go to Dwarf Cave and that is where the canal is, that gives you a good 10-minute advantage if Marsh Cave's remotely unfriendly, which it's Marsh Cave. It's always going to be unfriendly. It's what it does.
Oh, and we have the canal on top of marsh next to an opal.
Yeah, now, here is an interesting thought. If inclined to go ahead and just clean out Marsh Cave before moving on. That canal, I believe, was in the linked chest. That one chest room you pass when you're going down to the bottom of Marsh, it's actually linked to that, I think, right-hand chest. It might be the left-hand chest, actually. One of those 2 chests in the top of Marsh is actually a linked chest. And it's one of those things I'm drawing a complete blank on which is which. We'll see what happens. Guelph, though, did lose his white mage in one of those fights, which, I mean, I don't actually think he's bought armor for anyone, so that makes sense.
I haven't seen anything bad on these bones yet, but the R bones have frost. The spiders have, or the arachnids, excuse me, have. I haven't seen any of the other undead yet. It's.
Well, speak of the devil, and it shall appear. Well, it's one of those things. It wasn't even abilities. Those gargoyles were hitting for 30 to 40 HP, which, unpleasant. It looks like Mageius is actually doing a little bit of grinding out in the forest between Elfland and the west coast of the southern continent. So, an interesting decision.
I can't say I agree with this grind.
Well, I think it's one of those things he's trying to avoid that arachnid fight, and is also trying to get the money for that exit spell. And possibly the levels to cast it, but Guelph deciding to go ahead and head on back, presumably to at least pick up the white mage, but I expect he's not coming back to Marsh unless he has to. You got your canal, you have a ruby sitting in your inventory, you're wanting to go ahead and get this show on the road.
Yeah, and I can agree with making that play 100%.
Yeah. So. You know I ragged on Rub a little bit ago, but looking at those prices and that spell list, I think there may almost be an argument to be made of pick up Rub, because it's cheap and you can stick it on both of your mages, just to have something that you can throw around at 3rd level, and then, you know, pick up Quadex and Temper on your next pass through. It's not a great argument, because, like, I know I've had multiple people argue that when you have a spell like Temper, you want that in that first slot of your spells, but... You know,
Yeah.
Rub can do work.
I'm not so sure about the Rub play, but if it's what you have to work with, you know, you might as well...
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, it's not a necessity, but it is a situation where, like, I think there would be a part of me that just be like, I already have Ice 3 at level 1 and a Thor's Hammer. I don't need Ice 2.
Looks like Mageius had to take a reset here in March.
Yeah, that seems completely reasonable. It's Marsh. I know Guelph took a couple of wipes trying to get through here, so I'm not surprised, but Mageius did see the canal, so he knows he just needs to grab it and go. Not sure okay, it worked out for him. I was gonna say, I'm not sure I agree with that decision to have the Black Mage cast instead of run. For both these runners, that Black Mage is going to be the best character for running for most of the seed. And of course, as soon as I say that, Mageius' Black Mage fails to run away from gargoyles, so... You know, it is what it is.
Mageius looks like he's gonna make it through here. His white mage survived. Yeah, I think I'll call this marsh cave semi-friendly.
Semi-friendly. It's definitely got some tricks to it. But we do get a cube for our trouble. Heading to Sarda. So... for both of these runners' sakes, I hope there's not a chime sitting in this Titan's tunnel. Okay, we are spared for the moment. Because, yeah. Yeah. This week, our incentive chest is in the Sky Dungeon. The Air Orbs Dungeon. The dungeon you definitely don't want to go diving into at level 6.
Yeah, I would have not liked to see a chime there in the Titan's Trove. Though, we could still get a chime from the Circle of Sages over in Crescent Lake.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing right now, is, we technically are out of the Inner Sea, but, at this point, we don't really have any progression items. Everything we have is either a fetch quest we can't turn in, or just opens up more checks. As of right now, we have access to Crescent Lake, access to the Sea Shrine, and access to the Earth Cave. So, we may be seeing a spicy dungeon dive if the sages don't deliver the goods.
I might take if the sages don't deliver. If it was me, I might take a page out of Caleb's book and do early. Earth has been paying dividends pretty much this whole turn.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would come down to, like, what kind of gear and levels I'm looking at after doing a little bit of grinding outside of Crescent, if the sages kind of bounce off. Like, if there's an easy encounter right outside of Crescent that pays off, I would possibly be tempted to say, you know what, I'm taking this to level 10. I have an Ice 3 caster, at least one, a Light Axe, and a Thor's Hammer. I can probably survive at least long enough to get to the mermaid floor and then exit out. Like, it's not a safe play, but it is a play that's on the table.
Speaking of level 10, Guelph is almost there, so we might actually see an early seed. And a crystal is a crystal in the item shop. That's more running back and forth on this.
Yeah, that's a tough call right there. And Mage is finding a defense sword at Dwarves. He probably would have really liked to have had that for Marsh, but that is a weapon you can definitely do some damage with. Mostly in the form of not taking damage, and thus living long enough to do damage.
Oh, and it looks like the Circle of Sages deliver the goods. Vanilla Canoe.
That just makes the spicy sea shrine play all the more attractive, because that's now waterfall access, and you can hit ordeals on the way. But we'll probably wind up seeing a volcano or an ice cave dive out of one of these runners before they make that northern continent play.
Looks like Elf's taking a little bit of a grind to get the money up for that crystal.
I mean, I don't blame him, because I mean, you know you're going to be sailing or rowing a lot for at least a little while, because with that crystal now in your sights, that's 3 key item locations that are relatively easy to access, along with that ice cave dive. So technically 4 incentive locations where you can find something you want. None of them are necessarily checks you want to make, though, because almost all of them require extensive amounts of sailing, and the one that doesn't, you're still rowing halfway across the continent to get to it. So I don't hate this. Like, I don't hate the idea of let's go ahead and get the crystal and then decide what I'm going to do.
And I think Guelph has the money for it now.
Yeah. So, what would you do in this situation, pleb? Like, you have Ice Cave open. Go ahead.
I'd probably sail up north and dock in the river at Matoya's, check Matoya's, and if it's nothing that I'm looking for with my with level 10 and Guelph situation, I would go straight to Sea Shrine Waterfall.
Yeah, I actually always forget that you can dock outside of the inner sea at Matoya. So, good call on that. Yeah, that seems like probably the most effective way to route this is, like you said. The only difference, I think I would go Ordeals first, because Ordeals is a good way to rack up some easy experience points, grab a few key items, grab a few chest locations, and then you can head on over. Just make that sea play a little safer, as well as that waterfall play. Mage is continuing to grind outside of Elfland.
It looks like he noped out the second time he went through for Canal, so he's probably just looking for some...
I thought I did... see him get it out, but I might just be mistaken.
I think he hit an arachnid counter that wiped him.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we are eventually going to reach a point where the entire Final Fantasy I randomizer community has developed arachnophobia, because arachnids have had a lot of nasty things in this tournament.
Oh yeah, they've had Trance and Blizzard. I think they've had every script.
It wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, they have had... They keep rolling bad things, and I'm not sure why.
I think the randomizer is becoming sentient and just likes to torture us.
I mean, that would square with everything I know about the randomizer. Alright, if I'm any judge, Guelph is making this Matoya play. Just going through the Inner Sea to do it. Which he could leverage that into an Ice Cave or Volcano check if he wanted. But let's see if Matoya gives us something like the floater. Or the key. The key would be another interesting item to get out of Matoya.
Yeah, going Inner Sea for Matoya and getting the key would pay off really well.
Oh, absolutely. And it would lead to Guelph just looting this whole area. Which on the one hand delays him finding the floater unless it's loose somewhere in the Inner Sea. But will almost certainly pay off because he definitely is going to get that defense sword out of Dwarf. But Mageius does have his canal back, so
He
that's what
grinded
he
up
was
exit.
after. Clever. And he is done with Marsh Cave.
And a tail from Matoya, an item you really don't want to see right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have that in the back of your head if you're Guelph for late game. Actually, neither of these runners probably are necessarily looking for that early tail. They both have black belts on them, and in this flag set, black belts have their vanilla magic defense progression. So, prior to class change, a black belt gains +4 M defense per level. After class change, they get +1. So if you're going to hang experience on a black belt, which, spoiler warning, you're wanting to hang experience on a black belt, you ideally do that before class change.
Yeah, and all it is a matter of going volcano or ice first. Now, I know a lot of people are fans of the early volcano checks in the routing. I'm more of a fan of early ice.
And I'm again a fan. If you have the canoe, I personally am a fan of make those ordeals and waterfall checks first, because, well, if they're incentivized. Because two reasons. One, if you get the floater, that makes those volcano and ice checks free, or at least a lot easier to route in. But secondly, there are a lot of things, if you have good magic in ordeals and waterfall, that will give you a ton of experience for basically one turn of combat. Like, it is very easy without deliberately stopping to grind and just taking every fight that you can to go from, like, level 7 to level 15 checking ordeals and waterfall. So, that's kind of where I sit on that, just cuz. I like having that health cushion before hitting Volcano and Ice Cave.
Yeah, and that's true if you have the canal, in which I forgot they both had the canal.
Alright. So, gonna see what Guelph is going to do now that he is done buying everything he can afford in Elfland. Because I imagine some of this is preparing for whatever he's doing next, and some of this is take a moment, figure out what I'm doing now. He does at least now have a black belt that can contribute in a fight beyond, like, using items.
It's looking like either early volcano or early ice.
I'd wager on Volcano and then into Ice. Because the thing is Volcano has a lot of spike tiles in it, so Guelph may also be looking at, well, let's go ahead and get this black belt online. At least get him up to, like, level 22.
Yeah, if you can force some levels under that black belt, it'll make the seed go by much.
Yeah. So, and that is the motivation a lot of people have for making that Volcano play, is you have the Grey Worm spike tiles, you have the Fire Elemental spike tiles, you have the Agama spike tiles, and you have the Red Dragon spike tiles. And they're fairly generously scattered around the dungeon, so if you can almost always find one that's in a good location to just, like, step on repeatedly.
And the river system's not being friendly. Unrunnable Caribs. Then they don't have anything dangerous, but it's just another.
Yeah. This is a situation where encounter manipulation is a really good skill to have, because you can just kind of avoid all these fights if you can get a good run in on it. And I do understand we have a hero run somewhere in the encounter table. I just don't know how early it is from Power Cycle. Oh. It's apparently right here.
And that's a monster of a hero run, too.
Yeah, I just wish I knew where it was sitting in the overall encounter table.
I think it's third or fourth run.
Excuse me. But yeah, so Guelph making that early Volcano play you were suggesting. And is already rewarded with all of that money he wanted about 5 minutes ago.
And a loose loot.
Oh. On the one hand, that is a really good location, in terms of you're almost always going to check it. But on the other hand, the keyword there is almost.
I've seen it skipped a few times this tournament, but it hasn't really bitten anybody. This could be bad if Mageius decides to orphan it.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is I know some runners, their preferred approach to these, 4 chests on the right side of Volcano 2 is, these are easy to get to, I'll come back later. And that is not necessarily something that would benefit them in this case. I don't know if Mageius is one of those runners, but I guess we'll find out whenever he gets to Volcano.
Ooh, Argoyles have glance. They always have something now.
Yeah, the real danger of Argoyles is oh, that's not good for Guelph. He doesn't have any Pures on him. So he's gonna be enjoying the poison sound for a little bit, unless he pulls one out of one of these boxes coming up. But yeah, Argoyles can be really rude, not just for skills, but like if a touch attack lands on them, they get a lot of hits for a quote-unquote early game enemy, and that can be a problem if like your progression is in Volcano or something.
Oh, and it looks like Guelph has picked up the game clencher.
Oh yeah, that Bane Sword's gonna be really nice. And Magius is going to do a little bit of grinding here, probably also looking to get himself that crystal, but yeah, I did forget he does have Cure 4 as an option, so he can patch this party up.
Looks like he's taking advantage of the in-battle effects of Cure 4 pretty well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things. That is a good heads-up play right there. Just like, oh yeah, I can cure poison.
Until you get poisoned again.
Just in time for the entire party to get poisoned. Yay! Fortunately, that level 2 white magic, he's gonna have more than enough shots of between his red mage and his white mage to patch everyone up sooner or later.
Win a ribbon in the armory.
Nice. And an ice sword. That's gonna be good to hang on that red mage. Give him a little bit of decent offense beyond just throwing spells at everything. Oh, he's out of Cure 4s on the red mage.
No, I'd say the advantage to having the poison right now is you Cure 4 the black belt, find a spike tile, and then you can poison fire tile off your party a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but with, I think we've seen at least 2 or 3 enemies in this dungeon that have the ability to poison. So, that could easily go south for that black belt. However, if these turn out to be paper, then this... Even if these don't turn out to be paper, this is a really good place to do a little bit of grinding if you can get through them.
Looks like they have a lot of MDF. The mice 3s aren't doing much.
Well,
and
yeah,
I know they don't. Do they specifically resist ice?
I'm honestly thinking it's got to be the case, because I don't think that that Big Eyes or Gersharks have that good an MDef natively. I'm gonna look this up real fast because we're here. Shark. Ah, never mind. Wow, Gersharks have 170 MDef. I did not know that. Huh. Well, you learn something new every day. They are weak to lightning, though, so that is an option on the table for these runners. And on the bright side, at least in the canoe, you do not take poison damage, so Guelph at least is going to be able to make it back to Crescent with his party fairly healthy.
It's looking like Mageius is catching up real quick.
Well, he's catching up in the sense of, like, where he's gone. But Guelph still has that knowledge, like, Guelph's already turned in that crystal. And so Mageius is either going to need to do that, or wait until he gets the floater to do that in order to really gain any time on Guelph. You know, I started that sentence trying to say one thing, and then I proceed to say something different by the end of it. In order for that to really be a time save, Mageius is going to need to probably hold off on that crystal check until he's found the floater, which we now know he will find it without needing to go to Matoya, so... Guelph basically just pokes the top of the volcano and remembers that his ship is over in Elfland. So I'm not entirely sure where he's going from here. Since he's not sticking around to do Volcano, and he's not heading to Ice Cave from here. Like, he may be planning to pick up that Ice Cave check later, from outside the Inner Sea.
Ooh, Guelph getting hurt hard by them Hydra.
They hit hard and they have stun touch. That is unpleasant in every possible way. Oh, and they ambush. I repeat my previous statement. And seeing those hydras like that, I would be inclined to say, you know what? If the floater's an ice cave, I'll come back later when I have an extra 5 or 6 levels, and preferably a black belt that can just punch these hydras to death.
Or
and maybe some armor.
yeah, maybe some armor. I don't think he has any armor whatsoever.
Yeah, now fortunately, because of the way that black belts work, his black belt at least does have 13 absorb already. But yeah, now Guelph probably is going to want some armor before venturing onto the waters again. Alright, Chad Rollin in chat does point out Guelph did pick up a cap, so he's got one piece of armor that he hopefully isn't keeping on the black belt. Also, he did pick up that ice sword, but I don't think he's actually swapped it to his red mage yet.
Looks like Gelf's done with the inner sea checks right now.
Yeah, I have to imagine this is a voyage toward doing a check of ordeals, waterfall, possibly sea.
Looks like Mageius is picking up his ribbon and his ice sword, and he's gonna slap that on the floor.
Yeah. I would personally be inclined to slap the ribbon onto the white mage, because if the white mage survives horrible things, then you can just pick up your party later. Whereas if the fighter survives horrible things, then you have to leave with a fighter, and just a fighter. But I have a pattern to these things. I'm a fan of your first ribbon goes on your life caster, if you have one. Your second ribbon goes on your primary melee until you are deep into Temple of Fiends Revisited. Then you put the ribbon on your melee because they can probably live without the life caster to get to the end of the game.
Yeah, I play pretty much the same way with my ribbon.
So...
Now, at this time in the game, and you've got a fighter in your party, do you just leave the black belt down and go with the fighter?
It's a tough call, because you really haven't seen a lot of good equipment. Yeah, Mageius goes for that zap, but we know that's going to do no good because these things have enough magic defense that zap ain't gonna do anything to them.
Yeah, and it looks like Gelf's going down for an ordeals check.
Yeah, now, like I said, it's one of those things, ordeals, once it's in play, if you have anything resembling decent magic or equipment, you can do ordeals. And, you know, you've got the Medusas. Those are always going to be pretty paper and good experience. You have the Zombols, which, you know, that's a pop enemy. Mudgulls aren't always free, but they're worth poking to see what happens. Like, there's a lot of stuff in ordeals that you can probably take down, and almost all of it's going to give you something nice.
Oh yeah. Plus you have 3 spike tile checks you can take too.
Ah, very true. Most people don't bother with the Pillar Maze spike tile, but I actually do prefer to check that one, because, yeah, it's a spike tile not a lot of people think to look at. When we don't have, even when we don't have spike tiles shuffled, I'll usually go ahead and take it anyway, just because if mud golems turn out to be fairly fragile, then that's a quick chance to pick up a few levels and then move on with my life.
Guelph forgetting that he doesn't have.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate thing, but as far as we know, Warp is at least a level 6 spell, might even be higher than that. So there's no point in, well, I'm not going to do the Pillar Maze until I have Warp. You just got to do it.
Guelph's not taking any fights. I can't say I agree with this at all.
Well, yeah, skipping out on the mummy fight, that is a question. Okay, he is at least... Did he just cast Bane against the mummies?
I think it was Ice 3.
I thought it might have been, but it looked like he menued over on the red mage, but either way, yeah, no, like, unless the mummies have something awful, okay, they have heat, yeah, never mind, don't take this fight. Or is that a whiz mummy who had heat? Whatever.
I think it's the mummies that have heat. That's, at his levels, that shouldn't be too hard to deal with. They're pretty weak.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, he has harm 3 on the red mage. That makes more sense. You didn't see what, though?
I didn't see that Whiz Mummy hit the Black Mage. Did it have an instant death touch, or...?
No, I think it's an unarmored Black Mage getting punched by a mid-game enemy. Like... Black Mages are not known for their ability to take hits very well. Oh, this could be very bad. Yeah, Guelph just goes ahead and resets out of that fight. It was not going to end well.
Yeah, I agree with that call, and the Zombies have Fire too. That's another spell you don't want to see with your levels as low as...
Okay, so remember how I was saying Ordeals is a good play? I'm beginning to revise my opinion, very quickly. Alright, Mageius forgetting that this is a Grey Worm encounter tile. And very quickly gets out of that fight. And we actually can kind of see what Guelph is doing again.
It looks like he's made it through the Pillar Maze.
Alright,
oh,
yeah.
Sabertooths have Lightning 3. You do not want to see that on a spike.
Oh, that is bad. I think he does have that ribbon on his White Mage, though, so he can pick the party up. He just has to not die. Yeah, I think that's the right call. I don't think you gamble on giving this formation 7 free attacks. And I also think this is the right call. Let's go see what's in places that are not Ordeals. Because aside from the mummies, I guess the good news is nothing else that he saw is in Waterfall Cave. And there's at least one less fight with mummies that he's going to see in these flags. Mageius did lose his black belt to another set of Sharks and Big Eyes, but the trade-off is the rest of his party just got a lot of experience for their trouble.
Yeah. Now, he's got the Agama spike tile up. Oh, he hit it again.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, in these rooms in particular, it is very hard to remember exactly where you're supposed to go to avoid these spike tiles. I believe the general rule is like, stick to the bottom wall as much as you can. But unrunnable mud goals here in Waterfall Cave. But they are fairly weak in terms of HP, so like, I don't hate to see that if I'm Guelph right now.
Looks like he's going to take on the Gas Dragon. He does have the Ice 3 for it, so...
Yeah. Now this is I think if you feel confident in your ability to win this fight, I think I agree. Go ahead and take it. Honestly, I'd be tempted to go ahead and throw out a Quad X. Just because...
Oh, wow, they're low.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if the Gas D rolled low, then that's just free experience.
Looks like red Ds are on the Agama Trap tile.
That's not the worst thing to see. You have a ludicrous amount of Ice 2 at your disposal. Or Ice 3 at your disposal. And Ice 2, because Mageius has the black shirt, so... Yeah. Yeah. Ice 3, the only spell in the game that under the right circumstances can outdamage Nuke.
And this happens to be one of those circumstances.
Oh yeah.
If I'm Mageius, I take this grind.
Yeah, I don't know if how far I would necessarily want to take it. Like, I would probably at least do like 2 or 3 fights. Go ahead and get that black belt, some experience, so that the next time I run into a problem, I can just kind of... I don't have to worry about the black belt dying and losing out on XP.
It's looking like they only have about 250 HP, too.
Yeah, that actually kind of extends the grind a little bit then, because that's Quad Xable. And they're not immune to death. Yeah, I agree with this play on Guelph's side of going ahead and taking this lobster fight. Even if you don't necessarily want the experience, the information you're going to gain from fighting these lobsters is very useful. For example, lobsters have Blizzard today, and that's awful.
That's an encounter you want to get turn order on and kill immediately.
Yeah, or just never see again. Unfortunately, there's at least 2 very important places we have to go where we're totally going to see lobsters again.
Looks like Waterfall had some nice items in it.
Oh yeah, that's
Gold Cheerio Pro.
Yeah, that's actual armor for the white mage who gets it all. We also see an Excal, which Guelph cannot make use of, but Mageius will be able to. Did he wipe to something, or did he wiped to something? I didn't see what got him.
Mageius? No, he exited out and used house.
Okay. Okay, so he's just going back in for this fight, and to check what's behind it.
This fight is the better XP encounter, but the red dragons are so much easier. I don't really agree with exiting out to come back for the armory check.
I mean, I can understand why he did it, because you want everything in the tank to fight carry. But, yeah, no, this is not the easier fight. By a significant margin. As evidenced by the fact that, A, they're hitting way harder than the red dragons were, and B, they're still alive.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't agree with not using the black shirt, with not continuing to cast the black shirt.
Or lightning 3.
Well, he died before he could get the lightning 3 off, but yeah, I think that was a situation where you use that caster item. But either way, Magius is is going to head back down, and Guelph gets the key from that waterfall TNT.
And a second ribbon in the armory.
Nice. So, yeah, that ribbon, I think you put it. Yeah, you put it on your red mage, because even if you can't use life on the red mage yet, and there's our other loose item.
So Guelph is in no mode, so we know the floater's incentivized.
That floater's got to... okay. This is a situation where I think you go to Ice Cave.
And we could be looking at a vanilla floater.
Yeah, I think the combination of knowing that there's only really 2 places left for the floater to be. Well, 3 if it turns out it's in Sky. But knowing what we know about ordeals, I think you make the Ice Cave play in this situation. Like, if it's in ordeals, you're going to be banging your head against the wall for a little while anyway. But if you go to Ice Cave and can get through that, which, nothing nasty except mummies that we... Oh, actually, it's a good point. You still have to get through the mummies in Ice Cave. But Guelph knows about the hero run. And also, that's Nuke and Fire 3 at level 5 Black Magic. And Quake.
And Harm 4 and Heal 3 in level 5 White.
Okay.
Ordeals still isn't looking friendly, but Ice Cave is looking very tasty right now, and that looks exactly like what he...
Yeah. It's one of those things, those mummies are a little bit concerning for the Ice Cave play, because we know that they have a fairly high surprise. But I think it's one of those things, you're going to be dealing with mummies no matter which way you go if you're hunting for the floater. But I think there's more... You know almost every encounter group in Ordeals has something bad. Whereas most of the encounter groups in Ice Cave are probably going to be safe. So I think in this situation, if I'm Guelph, I go Ice Cave.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The Ice Cave play is looking real attractive. He can afford 2 gold bracelets.
And that's going to make it a lot more attractive, because if, like, alright, he's now got 2 ribbons. He's got gold bracelets. Honestly, I would almost be inclined to throw that ribbon and a gold bracelet onto that black belt. Because that's more absorbed than they have natively anyway. And out of the party members you have right now, the black belt and the white mage need experience more than anyone.
Yeah.
Well, alright. The black belt needs the experience. You need to keep the white mage up to keep the black belt alive. And to be able to just bail out of Ice Cave as soon as you're done.
Now that Guelph has items and money, do you go over and check the Astos?
No.
Apparently not. He's doing the Corneria check and getting a ribbon and a pro cape. Just stacking gear.
That's all 3 ribbons. Yeah, I think you throw one of those gold rings onto the black belt, hand him a ribbon, and yeah, like, it would be nice if that black mage had some kind of protection, but that's what that silver bracelet and that cap are for. But yeah, I wouldn't bother with Northwest right now. With the gear I have, that's a check I can make once I have the airship. And I know, because I still need a chime and a rod, that the airship has to be blocking at least 1 piece of progression. So I need it anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get it, and then do all of these things like fly to Northwest Castle and stuff after that.
Yeah, I can agree with that routing. And looks like Mageius is going to be the first to enter Ice Cave, but he's only got like 10 heal pots. I can't say I agree with this.
Well, the other thing is Mageius does not know about mummies yet. Which, that's actually something else that's a very strong vote for making the play into ice, or even ordeals now. Guelph has 3 ribbons. That makes dealing with those mummies a lot safer. Because even if you get hit by a group of like 7 of them, yeah, that's gonna hurt, but that's, 100 damage, and then you obliterate them because you have multiple harm and fire casters.
Oh, Guelph making the commentators eat their words is going back to Volcano.
I mean, I don't hate this either. It's on the way to Ice Cave. If he's still going to make the Ice Cave play, he can go ahead and light an orb, check the rest of the dungeon, and then move on. And he's going to benefit a lot more from making this check than Mageius did, just because he needs that black belt to gain experience as quickly as possible. Oh, and our bones have frost. We saw that in Marsh, didn't we?
Yeah, we did on the one encounter on Guelph's.
But yeah, so... yeah, I can see Guelph, once he gets down to the that red dragon tile, getting this party at a level 20. He's got the firepower to do it, he's got the defenses to do it, and then he can just kill, carry, and leave. I didn't see how hard the red dragons were hitting, though, is the only thing.
About 100 damage on the unarmored party on Mageius' side, so I don't think Guelph's going to have any problems with the red dragons. They did have stun touch, however, and I really don't like that for a solo black belt.
Well, I think it just depends on at what point you take him solo, because, like, once he hits level 25, he basically negates the chance of he drastically cuts down the chance of touch attacks hitting. In fact, I've got this pulled up. Let me just... Sorry, I'm just going to go look up the equation, the calculation real quick for the likelihood of a touch attack hitting. Because I believe that is also what is used to determine when a touch attack is shaken. I might be wrong on that one, but...
Looks like Guelph is gonna nope out of the red dragon grind. Oh no! Sorcerers have nuke!
Okay! Okay then! Oh, that's bad for, the floating fortress. That's real bad for the floating fortress.
That's bad for Topher.
It's one of those things you very rarely see that sorcerer encounter on Airfloor, just because it's so quick. But you're definitely going to see those sorcerers climbing through the floating fortress. But yeah, so, for the record, the way that status attacks are determined is they all have a base chance to hit of 100, from which your M defense is subtracted, and then the game rolls a random number between 0 and 200. So a black belt at level 25 or high, actually it's a little bit before that. Yeah, a black belt, once he hits about level 23, just ignores touch attacks. Like, it's a 3 in 256 chance, essentially, that the black belt is actually going to take damage from a touch, is actually going to be affected by a touch attack after level 23, just because of that MDef growth. But,
And
go ahead.
looks like Guelph's lit his first orb, taking down Carrie with a single punch of his black belt that's been tempered up.
Yeah, black belt still was, I think, doing 14 damage unmodified. But yeah. Definitely starting to get to the point where that black belt is doing work. And Mageius1 does bring up a point that we do see a lot of 3/256 chances hit at inopportune moments, but my point is like, red dragons only punch once. And stun touch is not... It's not death touch, and it's not stone touch. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to do a solo grind with a black belt, and I am not sure what Guelph is gearing up for here with how he's currently got his party arrayed. He may have just forgotten to swap them back after the carry fight. Or he may be looking to Dan the Black Mage and pick up some experience on the way. But, I'm just saying, like, if it were me, I would be tempted to say, you know what, I can probably at least get this black belt to level 25 or 26 fighting these red dragons, and then move on with my life.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the most viable play.
Because the other thing to take into consideration is that a black belt at level 25 already has almost as much MDef as the rest of your characters are going to get by, like, level 45. And so it's one of those things where, like, black belts very quickly become very hard to hit with a lot of nastiness. Even if you don't power grind them all the way. But that's not what Guelph did, and he is probably going to learn the very bad thing about sorcerers soon. But the trade-off is most of the other bad things in this dungeon are not going to be his problem. Because all of those things are elemental.
Oh, and they're on a spike tile?
That is... Oh, that is so rude.
Those are two chests you're just gonna have to orphan at this point.
Yeah, you're... Oh, but Mageius doesn't know that, where the two loose items are. He has the loot, but he didn't collect the TNT from Waterfall, so he doesn't have the key. He doesn't know that the slab is just sitting there in the dwarf cave. He has to try and get to these tiles. Yeah. So, while these two runners are kind of digging into Ice Cave, just to kind of pop over to what chat's talking about for a second. The thing about black belts is they are... well, they don't have the loose items today at EF, just to really quickly address that. The slab is in Dwarf Cave, and the loot was in one of the first chests in Volcano. Yeah. So, the thing about black belts is they are consistent. They always gain their offensive capabilities and defensive capabilities the same every seed, because their attack power is based entirely off of their level, as is their absorb. So those two things will never vary. Their magic defense only varies depending on if their class change or not. So they're consistent there too. The big thing that holds them back is all those things are level dependent. So a black belt is good in one of two situations. One, where you know that the enemies are going to skew high in terms of their stats, and so you need that consistent, certain kill power that a high-level black belt brings to the party. Because they're going to get a lot of swings with their fists, they're going to be able to ignore a lot of damage, and Guelph is just getting through Ice Cave as quick as he can. Which, yeah.
I agree with these orphans. Knowing what we know, I completely 100% agree.
Yeah, I am apt to agree as well. It's a sensible play to make because he knows, like, he doesn't need to find any loose items. He doesn't need really any gear at this point. Because he's got that black belt centric party. But yeah. So the thing about black belts, just to finish the thought, is they're good in situations where you know the enemy is going to be hitting like a truck and need to be hit by a truck. In situations where your XP gain is high enough to where you're not losing a lot of time getting that black belt to the point where they're going to be doing amazing amounts of damage. So generally speaking, where you probably have heard black belts talked about disparagingly or as not very good, usually that's when dealing with flag sets where those two things will not be true. So flag sets where enemy stats are going to be lower, or flag sets where experience gain is going to be on the low end. Because in those situations, you don't want a black belt. The upside is not going to come online faster than you can find equipment for a thief or a fighter. But yeah, so Mageius is going to ditch those two chests that are guarded by sorcerers.
Oh no, the sorcerers are unrunnable.
Oh!
That is the worst possible thing that can happen.
Now, fortunately, I don't think we see this formation. You know what? I can look this up. I have Astral Esper open. Alright, let's see here. So for those of you who are wondering what I have Astral Esper open means, Astral Esper's mechanics FAQ. If you're in any way, shape, or form interested in running Final Fantasy I Randomizer, it is one of the most useful resources available. Although I forgot, he doesn't actually talk about whatchamacallits, formations. So, yeah, while Guelph is on his way to check the turn-in for the herb, I'm gonna go look at the formation FAQ real quick. Because now I'm curious what the B-side of that Just Sorcerer formation is, and if we're likely to see it again.
I think the B-side of that is the 2 mud goals and up to 6 sorcerers pack.
6C... Well, no, because the one that was guarding the 2 chests was runnable. Alright, so that's 6C-1, so we need 6C-2. Oh! Oh, that's bad. So, you want to know what the B-side of that, 3 sorcerer formation is?
What is it?
You know that all-sorcerer formation on Airfloor in, Topher?
Oh no.
Oh, yes. So,
Sorcerers have become gatekeeper. That's horrible.
well, okay. Let me actually check to see which encounter they... Well, no, we have encounter shuffle on. So, yeah. They're one of the 3 and 40 and 64 chance encounters natively. But because this flag set shuffles encounter rarity, there is a non-zero chance that we will see that formation. And that's bad. Speaking of bad, so remember earlier when I mentioned that if we find the chime, that means that the floater could be in the floating fortress?
And that's exactly what it looks like.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So, let me see here real quick. I'm just gonna check something real fast. So, the good news is, sorcerers are only on the top 2 floors of the floating fortress. So, excuse me. If Guelph decides that he'd rather check the incentive air chest first, he can get through there relatively safely. Honestly,
Guelph looks like he's checking grind tiles, maybe.
actually, did Guelph actually see what the sorcerers had?
No. No, he did not.
Okay, he may decide to do ordeals first then.
But he's got a nice grind tile here. Zombie D's and Whiz Vamps. Lots of XP on this.
Oh yeah, and he's got the firepower to very efficiently murder them.
When they're low, they're really low.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I'm a little bit. I'm like 2 seconds behind you, so I was like, I mean that 346 doesn't really mean much. And then I saw the 195. It's like, okay, yeah, they're low. Yeah, this is definitely a take the other tile situation, because those airs not worth the trouble unless they are fragile. But yeah, so knowing what we know, the safer play is actually probably Sky. Because you can get to that incentive chest without seeing a single sorcerer, whereas you are going to see sorcerers throughout ordeals, in theory. So...
It looks like he's taking the air tile.
Yeah, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with this move, just because he has a lot, like, he can extend the... Well, actually, no. I think I know why he would be doing this. Because he can use his nukes up here, and then switch over to harm spells and fire spells to deal with the undead fight. So it allows him to stretch his resources out a little bit more to nuke these down and then swap over if he chooses to do it. But yeah, Mageius, meanwhile, has finally gotten out of the ice cave and is making his way back to Crescent, presumably. Or he might be heading to Elfland. I'm not entirely sure where he parked his boat, if I'm being honest. But yeah, Guelph's Black Belt is about to hit the, alright, now it's time to make everything pay line.
And I can 100% agree with knowing what we know with this grind. This will make Sky a lot easier. But not much.
Well,
I do have to say the Woat Special Seed never fails to disappoint.
I choose to believe that that was on purpose. I mean, this is definitely a seed. Like, the good news is both of these runners did pick up a Sun Sword out of Ice Cave. So that's going to be very helpful for, like, increasing the longevity of their party. But it's interesting to see, kind of, Mageius taking all these fights with the Black Belt White... Well, starting to take fights with the Black Belt White Mage, but regardless, Mageius looks like he's decided that he's going to favor the Black Belt over the fighter. Whereas Guelph is... I don't know if he's looking to do a solo grind at this point, because, like, we've seen enough nastiness to where he should know, except for the sorceress. He doesn't know about that yet.
Meanwhile, us and Chad are patiently waiting for him to find...
Well, he's probably almost certainly going to find out, because he's probably going back to Ordeals, if he goes anywhere. Because it's on the way to Mirage Tower. It's a fairly quick dungeon under most circumstances. And if it's the floater, then he doesn't have to sail all the way to Mirage Tower. But knowing what we know that he probably would save time by going to check Mirage first. But, alright, let's see if he can get through here without finding out what sorcerers have. The spoiler warning is, he probably will not.
Looks like Guelph is remembering his previous attempt.
I mean, can you blame him? He did this. He did most of this run about 4 times.
I don't think Guelph's gonna have problems with that Saber T spike tile.
I don't think he is either. Because, yeah. I mean, the Black Mage will probably have some trouble, but, I mean, he should have chosen a career path that let him live. Mageius, meanwhile, it looks like he has swapped to 2 character strats, keeping just the Black Belt and the White Mage up. I don't hate it.
My hope is that Guelph gets a sorcerer encounter, gets turn order, drops a nuke on it, kills it instantly, and doesn't find out till he gets to...
See, that's because you're clearly not a good person, pleb. Like, I'm just gonna be honest here. That's the kind of thing that a bad person wishes on someone.
I mean, it's not that bad.
Also, the mummies decided to be swingy this time through, which I'm sure Guelph is quite happy to see. I do like that when the mummies do attack his black belt, the screen just reads, "Mummy Punch!" It makes it all sound a lot more dramatic.
Yeah, I suppose he's not going to cut it with the Argoyles. That is a Lightning 3 cast that you need there, I believe.
Well, back to the old, looking at enemy stats mines. And the answer to that is, yeah, no, you do want lightning. Not because they're vulnerable to it, but because they don't resist it. They do resist fire, ice, and earth, though.
Guelph has not seen a single sorcerer encounter yet.
So, you're probably going to get your wish.
They might have rolled really low in the rarity. That is a possibility.
That is a distinct possibility, but that also raises the possibility that we are going to see, that Guelph is going to see his first sorcerer fight near the top of the floating fortress. Also, that is an adamant, so our long search for the floater continues. So, alright, pleb, here's another one of those Wote asks you a question. Do Do you follow that adamant, or do you just go straight to sky, 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 sky?
Where I'm at on the map, I go to Sky. I go to Sky and only check the incentivized.
An interesting call. I think I'd feel compelled to go back and check the adamant, because it's really not that much farther than Sky, and it looks like that's what Guelph is opting for. But yeah, I do feel a little bit bad that I think Mageius has seen more of the rude things in this seed compared to Guelph thus far.
Oh, most definitely, Guelph has luck on his side today, and that's also an element of the randomizer. Sometimes luck wins you the match.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side to that is forewarned is forearmed. Like, if we do wind up in a situation where the where one of the encounter tables is lousy with sorcerers, Mageius is not going to wind up losing that time because he'll know better. But it looks like we're off to Sky, 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 because that is an adamant rod.
Guelph might be attempting this floaterless. He has access to all the fiend dungeons. I can agree with this Earth Clear. Just running through, clearing out Lich, getting the orb.
Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, following the bottle and the slab will get us an opal bracelet and a power bonk eventually at this point. With the floater locked in Sky. So, I imagine he will still pick it up, because he probably is going to want to class change his mages once his black belt's leveled up. Because, I assume he's going to want that life spell on that red wizard. If not the first time he goes into ordeals, then if he finds out that Nuke is living on the sorcerers. Oh, yeah. So, Guelph is going to go ahead and check the encounter tiles in Earth Cave, or at least the two over in Hall of Giants. Fun fact for... Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, fun fact for people familiar with the original game. There are actually two types of encounter tiles in the Hall of Giants. One of them is is in kind of that first column, and then the other makes up the actual body of the hall. In the vanilla game, both of those tiles point to the same formation, or at least two formations that look alike. In the randomizer, however, when you shuffle around encounter tiles, then those can point to two very different fights. So you'll often see runners take 2 steps in the Hall of Giants to figure out what the 2 fights available are, and then, if either of them are worthwhile, taking it from there.
I don't normally check those tiles, and that's been to my detriment lately.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's definitely a check. I think most people who want to like kind of break into that upper echelon of players, that's one check you just need to ingrain into your memory when you have encounter tile shuffle on, because it's, you know, what, 7 steps from the door. It's like Agma tile, a situation where you're only getting the fights that you want to have. And yeah, so yeah, Guelph definitely in go mode at this point. Which,
no. I have a question for you, Wout.
all right.
Seeing as he hasn't taken a black belt grind yet and is in go mode, do you find it? Do you go back to Northwest Castle and take that Zombie D and Whizvamp grind?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's out of all the potential grind tiles that we have seen out of both of these runners, that's probably the safest, especially once that black belt hits like about level 25, because at that point, you've got the defenses to deal with pretty much anything that they can throw at you that you didn't see because you killed them too fast. And most importantly, it is a fight that you can, like, you can bail at any moment to go revive your party. I think the main thing Guelph would be holding out for is an airship, so that he can very quickly extract that black belt from wherever he grinds and go revive his party once he's done. Because we've seen enough rudeness going through the overworld that, like, I wouldn't want to, like, try and walk a solo black belt back to the nearest town. And he could also opt to do something like what Mageius is doing with the, or was doing for a little bit with the, just have the black belt and the white mage up, so that you can have the white mage pick your party up. Either way, though, did you know that liches are vulnerable to bludgeoning damage?
I had a feeling.
Because, I think we're about to see just how vulnerable they are to bludgeoning damage.
He didn't last very long.
The answer is very. Very vulnerable to bludgeoning damage. So anyway, that black belt is now a threat to everything, and can survive a nuke. So I think with the current gear he has on the black belt, and I'm going to double check that real quick because otherwise people will be like, what? You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, so with the current gear that Mageius has on his black belt, he has the defense equivalent of a level 33 black belt. Because he has a pro ring, a gold bracelet, and a ribbon equipped. So that adds up to 33 absorb. And with the ribbon providing resistance to everything that has an element, yeah, it's one of those things, there aren't a lot of grind tiles that he would want to take on a solo black belt that wouldn't be worth the trouble. And speaking of grinds, is Mageius grinding on the lobsters?
Oh, that is dangerous.
I mean, on the one hand, that's insane, but on the other hand... No, there is no other hand. I don't think I've ever seen anyone decide to do this, and, yeah, that would be the reason that you don't see people doing that, because lobsters also tend to punch hard because they get a lot of hits.
Lobsters are not a grind-friendly enemy, ever.
There's a reason that you've never heard the expression, oh boy, a lobster tile! That is a phrase that has never been uttered in the history of Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer. Ever.
I think Mageius might be uttering it right now.
Okay, here's the thing that confuses me about this, is, he still has to get out of here. His exit caster is dead. Yeah, that would be the problem in its entirety, with what he was doing there. Like, at the point where that white mage goes down, you stop grinding. You stop grinding and you leave. Because...
It's like grinding a ghost tile. That's a no-no.
Mageius, I love you, but if I don't remember to ask you about this in the post-game, please explain that one on the Discord later. I want to know why you thought that was a good plan. Meanwhile, the other pleb in chat That would be uninformed pleb for the folks watching on YouTube. I'm not just calling him a pleb for the fun of it. Or her. Them. Lobster tile sounds like a gimmicky serving method from a New England restaurant/hardware store. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. I find no flaws in this argument. Here is your gold star. I do not actually have a gold star to award. You will have to imagine it. Use the theater of the mind. But yeah, so Mageius back in Waterfall. Hopefully this time the White Mage lives and he just leaves. And picks somewhere friendlier to grind. Like, I don't know, a Sorcerer tile.
Did he just get away? This unrunnable Wizhag encounter, I don't like it, because it's never not unrunnable.
Well, that's actually in beta right now. There is a fix in that does decouple A and B side encounters. I am not sure I'm a fan of it, just because I do like being able to have that information of, oh, this was unrunnable. Oh, this is unrunnable.
But in the case of A and B uncoupling, you don't get unrunnable wizards with nuke, or unrunnable sorcerers with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's bonuses.
Yeah. All right, Mageius leaving. Mageius not remembering. Okay, Mageius remembering he has exit, so he can just exit. And he exits. Okay, so Mageius gets out with his TNT and his X-Cal. So I feel like Mageius has a bigger incentive to go find the airship than Guelph does. Because Guelph doesn't really... Like, the only benefit of class changing for him... Actually, he doesn't even get that benefit. He doesn't have the ability to cast life with that red wizard, if I'm not crazy. Learn life on the red mage.
He does. It's level 4. It's level 1 slot.
Well, no, but he has 3 spells in level 1. He can't actually... He physically cannot learn it on the red mage.
Oh, he filled it up.
Okay, yeah, you know what? Guelph has no reason to get the airship at this point, unless he wants the power bunk or the opal bracelet. Because... yeah. Because he gains absolutely nothing from class changing at this point.
All Guelph needs to do after completing this Kraken fight, if it is completable.
I'm sure it is. He's got a defense sword and he's got a black belt above level 22. That is a recipe for success right there.
Temper's going up.
Yeah. I do not hate that preemptive heal too. Obviously it doesn't always work out in your favor, but... Oh, wow! That is an evasive Kraken. Because Guelph has... What's the number I want? 6 hits on that black belt and landed 1 of them. And none of them that time. We haven't seen fast, have we?
No, I don't think we have.
Oh. Well, we have Lock 2, and that's very heads up on Guelph's part to get that Lock 2 deployed. Honestly, I wouldn't even bother tempering. We saw the black belt hit solidly when he could connect. I would just be double Lock 2ing this, this Kraken, and maybe throwing out that Bane Sword. Yeah, he doesn't need more tempers, he needs to actually be able to hit this thing.
Yeah, the 3 hits for 605, you just need to drop all the Lock 2 charges you have on this.
Yeah. I mean, there is an argument to be made for making every punch count, but if you can make 2 punches count, that probably is going to do more damage than the tempers are. But Kraken's dead, and Guelph has lit his 3rd orb.
Now, if you're Guelph, do you run and check the known floater chest, or do you just run right?
Without the ability to learn life on that red mage, there's no point. You don't get any new equipment with this party by class changing. You lose out on any bonus MDef that black belt's going to acquire. The only reason I can think of to grab the airship, because here's the thing. That chest is not out of the way. It's like an extra 20 steps at worst to grab that on your way through Sky 2. And you have to sail back past the Ryukon Desert to get back from Ordeals anyway. Or not Ordeals, from Mirage anyway. So, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and pick the floater up, get your airship, maybe do your ferry and Lefane check-ins if you want the power bonk and the opal bracelet, or at least the power bonk on your black belt, and then, go get level 32 and go beat the game. And if it turns out that the Temple of Fiends Revisited is terrible, go get level 42 on your black belt. You have an airship, you can get there and back quickly. But yeah.
That sounds like solid strategy.
But yeah, I mean, if nothing else, grab the floater on your way through, and then, worst case scenario, if you don't need it, you don't need it. But if you get into Topher and it turns out to be a nightmare, you can go turn in that floater and you take your airship somewhere good.
When the Gurmadeuces are unrunnable, this could be interesting, but it's not.
Well, right now it's not. But when you have 6 or 7 Gurmadeuces with Poison Touch, that's where things get interesting. Because, we're going to see the Gurmadeuces in Earth. Meanwhile, I think Mageius has forgotten that there are no chests on this floor. Which is a bit of a problem because this is also one of the floors that has ghosts.
The second strongest normal encounter you can get in the game. I know it's in the top 3. I don't much care for fighting them.
Oh yeah, no, like ghosts are also terrible. Like, everything is awful forever. A Final Fantasy Randomizer story.
Looks like me just having a rough time with the Sea Shrine as well. He has just seen nothing but rude this whole seed, and I feel, because I know how.
But yeah, for reference, ghosts have a base of 93 attack. Phantoms have a base attack of 120. Whiz vampires have a base attack of 90. And I'm just leafing through real quick while we are kind of going through stuff. And Kilos beat out ghosts with a base attack of 98.
Ankylos.
Let's see, T-Rexes have an attack of 115. Yeah, no, I mean, there is some stuff out there. Sentries have 102. So, ghosts are not the hardest hitting. But the thing that makes ghosts horrible, it isn't that their attacks hit hard, it's that their attacks hit hard 3 to 5 times in the space of a round.
Oh no, Guelph has found the sorcerers. He's gonna take it, and I don't agree. Oh, the sorcerers also have.
Yeah, no, like that's the thing is he can't have known until he took it.
He's gonna get through it without seeing it.
He'll see them again. We've still got the Bridge of Destiny in front of us, but yeah, like, the longer he goes without knowing that sorcerers have nuke, the more likely it is that something very bad is going to happen to him.
Get your bless RNGs in chat for a robot friend. We are on the Bridge of Destiny.
I mean, he can also put the bless RNGs in for the sorcerers. Honestly, I think those are more dangerous than Warmech today.
Oh, and he pulls the Warmech fight.
And he's going to take it. I do not hate this, because that is 2 to 3 free levels on that black belt, and that shortens your grind drastically. Plus, it also gives you some intel about what the Temple of Fiends will not have. Because Warmech shares a pool of skills and spells with the 4 Fiend refights and Chaos himself. So anything that Warmech has is something that none of the Fiends will have. And that's 2 Lit 2s I've seen so far.
Oh, and Warmech's paper.
Yeah, that is. So, yeah, like I said, I think this is a situation where the sorcerers are the more dangerous thing on this bridge.
Is Guelph gonna get through this again without seeing nuke? Oh no!
Yeah, every time he clears one of these sorcerer encounters, which, you know, okay, let's take a step back. At the beginning of this seed, I pointed out that the big difference between these two parties is Guelph has access to 2 blasting characters. And that's the difference right now between he and Mageius' experiences of the sorcerers. Guelph is able to throw out 2 Ice 3s on his first turn, and that kills the sorcerers before they get to do anything. Whereas Mageius does not have that option. He only has the Black Mage and then casting items.
Guelph pulling Tiamat 1. Gonna start with some temper, a white shirt, and probably a castle lock.
I don't hate it. You don't have fast, so you might as well use the closest thing you can get to being able to throw fast down.
And it looks like we're switching to Bane strat.
Yeah, that was 4 hits for 4 damage. Tiamat is a very thick girl today.
And he gets the Bane. Terminated poison smoke.
Oh yeah. Like, now, when Tiamat shrugs off 4 punches from a black belt, who's already level 26, yeah, you just leave. You end that fight by non-violent means, and then you just leave. But yeah, so... yeah, like I said, Guelph did go ahead and pick up the floater. It looks like Magius has worked out that his floater is here. So, here's where things are going to start getting spicy, though. Guelph only really needs a short grind to get that black belt online with 8 hits and an absurd amount of damage. Magius needs to get the airship and get airborne so that he can get that Excalibur going on his knight. Although he's been leaving Sword dead for most of the seed, so that might not be on his mind, but he brought the fighter. He probably needs to be taking advantage of that.
Yeah, with the fighter, with the knight equipment that they've seen, I would have danned off the black belt a long time ago and put all the levels and experience into the.
It'd be a tough call, because until we found that sun sword in ice, we really didn't have a good sword for the fight. Like, we had a defense sword, and that was the best thing we'd seen. The Excal obviously changes the calculus a little bit. Armor-wise, I don't really think we have seen much, to be completely honest. Like, have we seen flame or ice armor anywhere? Because I don't think we've seen the dragon or... Oh, hi, Fade, that's Red Wizard learnable. Like, that... Okay, that level 6 white magic, that, if I were in Wealth's shoes, that would actually tempt me to, pick up the... to clash change after my grind and come back. If Topher turns out to be a problem.
Looks like Guelph is just doing some administrative work here.
Yeah, now I don't blame him. Like, he knows that the fairy has a good chance of giving him either better armor for the black belt or a power gauntlet. And both of those are very good things for him right now.
And we didn't see fast in level 7, so it's going to be a level 8 spell today. You never want to see fast at level 8. That is just no good.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, again, that kind of comes down to if you grind up the black belt, and if you still can't just punch through Topher on your first dive, then it may behoove you to get the clash change, run back and grab this, and then try again. And if I'm not crazy, that was the power bonk.
You are indeed sane.
Alright. So yeah, that is probably the last check Guelph is going to make.
Oh,
like,
Guelph's not even going to take a grind. He's going for it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. At level 26, with the Opal, with a power bonk, that black belt can do some work. He's got plenty of physical defense going for him. So it's not out of the question that he can punch through a lot of things. The thing that's going to kill him is if the way the encounter table plays out, he sees those unrunnable sorcerers on air floor. I mean, obviously, and the fiends can also ruin his day, but it's just one of those things where the bigger threat, honestly, is a pack of 6 sorcerers who will either glare or nuke.
Yeah, they could end up being the gatekeepers to this seed.
Yeah. Now, here's a problem on Mageius' side. He still hasn't seen that second loose item.
Oh, and there's a Tyro spike tile on the Phantom spike tile. Do you take this grind right here, exit out, save, and come back?
No. Tyro is nice for XP early on, but at the levels that Guelph's at, for the amount of time it takes to kill one, you're not getting enough experience for it to be... Although he is going to take at least a few of these fights. He may feel like he's close enough to another level up that it's worth going ahead and feeling it out. But yeah, that's a Tyro that probably has at least 600 HP. But yeah, it's one of those things. I don't think I'd be taking this fight right now. You can get two if you're concerned about XP still. You go back to Northwest Castle and you fight those packs of zombie dragons and whiz vampires until your eyes bleed.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Because your black belt can probably end that fight in 3 turns by himself. And yeah, So for the folks wondering, wait, why was that Tyro a delicious chunk of meat and not a dinosaur? One of the fun percent flags of the rando, if you go to the website, is Team Tyro or Team Steak, which is an ages-old debate in the community between are Tyros friend or food? And choosing Team Steak just means that you agree that Tyros are food, not friend. And yeah, it edits the sprite to look like a delicious chunk of meat instead of a dinosaur.
It's honestly the best flag the randomizer had.
That's just because blurst weapons aren't live yet.
Guelph making short work of this floor and headed on to... Oh, spoke too soon.
Yeah, never underestimate what Earth Floor can do to you. Never underestimate Earth Floor. Yeah, the thing about Gurmaduses, by the way, if you have items that cast these AoE spells, you're generally better off saving your spell charges and just hitting them with those. Although these Gurmadusas rolled high on HP today. Which is a bit shocking. Usually Gurmadusas rarely have, like, even 100 HP. So it looks like these ones probably rolled at least 150 if I'm any judge.
That sounds about right. I don't like to math on Twitch. It never pans out.
So, alright, so right now Guelph is looking at level 28 on this party.
He might hit 32 just running through Topher on the way to Chaos.
Well, considering how many unrunnable fights there are, you're not wrong, excuse me. But yeah, so Mageius unfortunately never went to turn that TNT, and so doesn't know that he doesn't need to open any of these boxes. But he is at least going to pick up his floater here, and that will help tremendously. Other things that help tremendously, that red mage with a sun sword, that was some pretty good damage on those mud golems. Anyway, here's Lich.
It's a thing that's gonna be a thing for, I don't know, 2 turns.
Well, at least respecting Lich enough to cast Temper. And Lich, in turn, electrocuting the Black Mage. So, yeah, I figured that the second punch with 2 tempers in him was going to be sufficient for the Black Belt to end Lich 2's Reign of Terror. But yeah, that is a rare thing to see, is someone tempering and white shirting for dealing with Lich.
Yep, and this is where I like to say Topher really begins.
Yeah, I'm apt to agree with you. Fire Floor is where you really start to see the things that can make or break your end game. Not to speak the least of Carrie 2 herself.
Agamos with Trance and Bane, and it gets the Black Mage.
Well, the Black Mage is the only member of this party who is not wearing a ribbon right now. So that's unsurprising. And unfortunately, Guelph is currently stuck in a trance party. Oh, they also have fire too.
And Cremate.
So anyway, if the Agma tiles had Agma on them, that would have been the least friendly grind tile ever. But that does get Guelph level 29 for most of his party, so he's probably not complaining too hard. Anyway, here's Carrie.
There's Carrie.
So same game plan he had for Lich 2 round 1, and he doesn't even need any of it. Alright, so Kraken 2's up next, and then the moment of truth. We know that they're unrunnable with sorcerers with nuke prowling somewhere on the air floor. If Guelph sees them, he doesn't know that they have nuke. And he may be able to turn order and kill them before they can get those nukes off. But, yeah. It is a situation where, like, this could go very badly for Guelph very fast.
And he's getting the long runs on seafloor. Oh no!
Ah, the seafood party platter.
It's a good thing those, my brain just shut off.
Lobsters?
Lobsters are, nice in the HP department.
Yeah. Because again, we know what awful things they have.
Mageius taking another wipe in Mirage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point the problem he has is he didn't commit to the 3-man strategy early enough. And Guelph swaps the Black Mage to the front only to get into a fight before Lich.
And Wissahags have Exfer. This seed is sufficiently nasty. All I have to say is I'm glad I'm not racing this seed.
Oh, don't worry, pleb. I can roll you up a seed later.
I'm gonna say hard pass.
Oh, come on. You haven't lived until you've done a WOT special. Bonus points if it's a WOT special where I got to design the flags, too. So, Kraken 2 is traditionally one of the first major roadblock in a lot of seeds. By default, he gets a lot of punches, has reasonably strong magic defense, and, you know, each of those punches carries a little bit of weight behind it. So, it's very easy for Kraken 2 to do terrible things to your party. But when he leads off with elemental magic, that tends to take a lot of the bite out of what he does.
Yeah. I really like to see Fire 2, Fire 3 spam from Kraken whenever I dive to.
Well, you'd be getting your wish today. Because, let's see, that's 2 casts of Lock. Oh, yeah. Between the Locks and the Tempers, that Black Belt is hitting like a truck. I don't think I would keep pumping Locks into Kraken at this point. That Black Belt only has 6 hits, and the last 2 rounds he's been landing all 6 hits anyway, so like, unless you think the black belt is going to go down, and, you know, the red mage is going to have to finish off Kraken, those extra lock casts are not doing you any favors.
Yeah, they're really not. And a Gur Shark encounter right after the Kraken fight. You never want to see a first step.
Yeah, this is why you always heal without moving. Although the nice thing is, this is going to be a little bit of extra experience for that black belt. So this may wind up working out in Guelph's favor if, you know, he gets through this fight and is able to get, like, level 31 out of it, because that'll put him just a hair away from hitting level 32 in time for Chaos. Mageius, meanwhile, has at least made it back to the floating fortress. Alright, so Black Mage is back online. Red Mage is handing out the Cure 4s to everyone. Yeah, we're gonna use heal potions. And not taking this fight. Gonna take this Tia fight, because he has to. So, 2 tempers, the white shirt, and a punch to see what happens.
4 hits, 4 damage. That's not good.
Ah, so I see that Tia 2 is basically the same as Tia 1 without the convenient weakness to poison. Not that that's going to stop Guelph from trying anyway.
He's only got a few Bane charges left in the tanks. Do you temper up now?
I'd at least be applying the power bonk to that black belt.
And Tiamat rubs out the Black Mage.
Meanwhile, Mageius still struggling with this Sky Dungeon. Again, the benefit of Guelph's, you know, having that second blasting mage showing its advantage, because nothing that's been killing Mageius would have survived that first round of spells from Guelph. So, but yeah, as far as using up those Bane charges, though, I don't dislike it. Ice 3 ain't gonna help you against Chaos. Bane is as much a Hail Mary against Chaos as it is against Tia 2. Like, the first level spells have, at this point, run their course aside from life, and as soon as we get off this floor, that won't matter either.
And it's looking like Guelph is not going to see the nuke sorcerers at all.
Not unless Chaos sends him back to the beginning. But even then, I think he came in off a power cycle, so we know he will not see them unless he deviates from his step route somewhere. So Guelph did opt to throw out a punch instead of using the defense sword. Not a play I necessarily agree with. And whatever Chaos did, the party survived it. Looks like he probably punched the red mage.
Oh, and Chaos coming out with Tornado.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because those ribbons cannot help you there. Fortunately, he had that Cure 4 queued up on the red mage, so everything's actually pretty much hunky-dory. Now, unfortunately, it's hard to tell how the black belt is faring against this chaos.
6 hits, 637 damage.
Alright, yeah. So, what I'm seeing is, yeah, just keep tempering the black belt. Chaos is going to die in about 4 turns.
Ooh, and Chaos has Swirl as well.
Chaos bringing all the non-elemental damage that won't actually kill you if you're, at level 30. But, yeah. There cannot be, too many issues left in the tank.
And it looks like a punch from the black belt takes down Chaos.
Yep, that is going to do it. Guelph is going to finish with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 46 seconds. Hey, Guelph, is that you joining us?
Yes.
And GG's, Guelph. GG.
Thank you. That was an adventure.
Yeah, I'll be with you in a second. I'm just, Mageius is declining to come in for an interview, which I cannot blame him, but I'm just trying to assure him that, the seed was very rude to him. And we'll get into how it was rude in a minute, Guelph.
Okay. It was not one of the easier seeds.
No, it definitely was not one of the easier seeds.
Yeah,
That's a
Guelph,
horrible encounter table.
well, okay, let's start off with a question. Do you want to know what bullet you dodged harder than anything else?
Did something have nuke?
Yep. Do you want to take a guess what had nuke?
I don't know, caribs?
Sorcerers.
Oh, okay.
Furthermore, you know how the Sorcerer Pack was unrunnable in Ice Cave?
I think I only saw a couple of them there.
Yeah. That is the A side of a B side encounter that is found on Airfloor. That has 6 to 7, like 3 to 7 sorcerers in it. So, yeah. You very easily could have seen a pack of 6 to 7 sorcerers with Glare and Nuke gunning for you. But yeah. Unfortunately, we know this because Mageius saw a lot of it. Because, for example, one of the chests that you skipped in Ice Cave was guarded by the Mudgull Sorcerer encounter, which got the jump on him and proceeded to nuke him to death. And I believe he also ran to sorcerers in Ordeals, who proceeded to nuke him to death.
and the unrunnable sorcerers on the 6-pack trap tile at ice. And also nuked him.
Yeah, Ordeals was bad enough, and fortunately, by the time I got to Ice Cave, I realized I was in go mode, and really only needed to check the easy-to-grab chests.
Yeah.
Missed a lot of that.
Yeah, so the other big difference between you two is you took the Black Belt Rainbow. Mageius went for the Black Belt Fighter White-Black party. And that paid dividends. Like, the sorcerers are actually the best example of how that paid dividends, because you wound up more or less being able to blast through encounters that gave mages trouble because you could just drop 2 ice 3s on it. And that took out a lot of problems right there.
Ice 3 was the savior of this game.
Yeah, basically.
That early Thor hammer was nice too.
Yeah. So, what prompted you to go with the Black Belt Rainbow anyway? Because we've not really seen that strat a lot.
That's what I've been practicing, and most of the time within level 2, or by the time I've been to Elfland, I can decide to Dan one or both of White Mage or Black Mage. Sometimes, like today, I ended up needing them, but usually it ends up as a 3 or a 2-man party. I was fortunate that it was a super late floater, because regardless of what party he had taken, he wouldn't have been able to class change. And this party does well with seeds that either doesn't need to class change or can't.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. On that subject, though, one thing that we were questioning, when you were checking the spike tiles in Northwest Castle, what was the reason you favored the heirs over what seemed to be a fairly paper set of zombie dragons and whiz vampires?
Because I knew that the heirs with the ice 3s and the Thor hammer and a punch, I could get those down in 1 round almost every time. I probably could have gone back and used up my last nukes on the other tile, but it was more that I knew I was clearing those in 1 round pretty easily.
All right, I suppose that makes sense. It felt like you would have been able to do that way, so I guess just pick the one that had
Topher been. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, had Topher been an absolute dumpster fire, I know I was going back there and was going to do a couple rounds of grinding on either of those tiles to get the levels to clear it on a second attempt.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, now it was one of those things, like, I figured that was also probably a higher XP ceiling. But yeah, with the heirs as opposed to the whiz vampires, but either way, like, it worked out for you. You almost hit 32 by the bottom of Topher, starting at like level 26, just because there were so many unrunnable fights.
And usually that's, especially when there's not a A+ grind tile available, that's usually about where I've been going in is high 20s with the goal of getting to 31, 32 by the bottom floors.
Yeah.
My question is for you. After getting the canal on top marsh, you didn't check bottom. Were you just ready to get on with the seed and progress, or did you have any reasons for not checking the bottom of marsh?
I had the ruby, and I wanted to go get those 2 key items and the one out of Crescent. Had those all come up empty, then marsh would have been back on the play. Going where there were known key items was more important at that point.
Yeah, no, that is a that is definitely the way to kind of approach these seeds, I think, is you worry about the items, you know where to find them, and then you just track down the loose items as you go. Yeah, the only reason I can think...
the first one in Volcano was nice, because then I knew I could gamble on skipping some out of the way chests. The second one, where was the second one? It was the slab, but I don't remember where it was now. Was it
Dwarven Armory?
Was it Waterfall? Dwarf, that's right.
No, Dwarven Armory. Yeah, you got the key from Narek, you went right into the room, and Slab was in the last box.
That's right. Then at the end, I knew that the bottle and Slab had to be Obelchirial and Power Gauntlet, and I guessed correctly on which one to check first, because the Gauntlet was the only one I really needed, but I mean, I would have taken either one.
Yeah, that was actually something we were speculating about during the run, was there any temptation to, like, once you pieced everything together, knowing that, like, it's just the Power Gauntlet?
Yeah, I think it saved. It probably would have still saved a couple minutes to grab the floater and fly to TOF than to sail around.
Yeah. All right. So that was also
quicker to restock and quicker that if I needed to bail out and grind, all of that would have happened a lot quicker.
All right, that's kind of what I figured, but it is just, I just like getting thoughts on that sort of like routing decision. We could opt to just not worry about the floater and go.
Yeah, and really by the time I knew where it was, I figured it's 25 steps out of the way to go get it, so it wouldn't hurt
it's somewhere between
to
20 and
grab it.
25.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how you played that seed because it was demonstrably rough. Early, mid, and late game, it was.
There was never a point in the seed where I felt comfortable. I'll say that.
Yeah, and like I said,
the early life in Tier 4 was great.
Yeah, that was something that, like, if the seed had landed a little bit differently, would have also kind of helped you out, was being able to toss that life onto a red wizard. Actually, that is something. So from the get-go, you were not anticipating class changing, because you went ahead and filled that red mage's spell level up, first level spells up.
Yeah, I go in with the plan of not class changing, and only do it, if the seed is particularly rough.
All right, yeah, that makes sense. And Mageius has opted to join us. Mageius, GG.
Thanks. I just needed a few minutes because it's one of those seeds where it's just like especially with the way things rolled. It's like I found what I needed. I found what I was trying to go for. Started getting what I needed, and then boop, nope, sorry. It's those type of seeds like. You get what I mean?
Yeah, no, like, it's one of those things, and, like, Guelph, I don't know if I should tell you this or not, because it's probably going to, like, undo all of your hard work, but Guelph never saw the nuke on sorcerers.
It doesn't bother me on that one, but yeah, found a good grind tile. Sorry, nuke. Yeah, that's sort of just like, if you could see just how annoyed I got, it's like, found something to grind, started getting levels, and then nuke. That's literally the story of the seed for me.
Yeah, no, like, there was a lot of rudeness in this seed, and, like, I think some of it, like, Guelph mostly avoided it because he brought a red mage instead of a fighter. Like, that was the only difference between y'all's parties. You both brought a black belt, you both brought a white and a black mage. You brought a fighter, he brought a red mage. And so for a good chunk of that seed, he had that double ice 3 to just obliterate anything in his path.
I mean, I thought about taking red mage at the beginning, but it was just like, do I want to play it conservatively just in case the seed says no for the black belt? And it's just like, yeah, might as well do that. I normally would go for red mage, like fighter red mage combo, but it's just like, this type of seed was like, was there good enough spells early on to warrant the switch? Because I thought about it, but with just Ice 3 at the beginning and Bane, it's just like, not that much good. I mean, life at level 1 was useful, and I did consider it, but it was more like, I've got a good hero run at the beginning. I could probably get through some stuff and check things, and that's sort of what made the decision on it. Plus also early cube.
Yeah. Actually, that is a question. That kind of leads into it. What prompted you to bring a black belt for this?
I prompted to take a black belt because honestly, with what seeds I've been seeing lately, it's been one of those things. Is like either a coin flip to where it's just like you'll get everything, or you'll want to take at least something that can grind you. Because the overworld being the overworld. I mean, I've called like a handful of races, and even I've noticed like either Topher you'd want it, or the overworld's been horrible.
Yeah. And the overworld was pretty horrible today. There were some nasty things roaming around that, I think y'all generally only avoided because you had that huge run that you could lean into to kind of just get from place to place quickly. At least when you weren't in a boat, because the boat looked pretty free.
I mean, as I said, I found some good grind tiles here and there, but it was just like start, racking through the enemies, I had the spell casting item, so it's like, okay, I can do that, throw out Ice 3 until I needed it. I mean, because, it would work on that one. I thought, as I said, in the early game, I thought about switching over to Red Mage early on, but it was just like, the spells are okay, but, I mean, Ice 3 and Brack being two of the spells, and Life, it's like, is it worth it early on? And then when you saw what was at level 2, it was like, Cure 4, nice. Am I still priced into this party by now, though? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those things, I think, up until Provoca, if you think that you're... I don't think there's much of a cost to re-rolling up through Provoca. Because at worst, you're losing 5 minutes, generally, and you're usually going to make that up if you can take advantage of the spells you're seeing at 1 and 2, just because those are so abundant and so ubiquitous throughout the entire game.
I know. It was just still, even then, it was just like, I only had one clearing spell, not counting Bane, and with the way the overworld was, from what I could see, it's like I had a hero run, had, stuff like that. What it's like the seed says, you can work with this? It's
yeah.
And then it says about 20 to 30 minutes, and it's like, sorry, we lied.
Yeah, so I guess one last question before we go ahead and kind of wrap things up and give Speed Gaming their channel back. In Waterfall Cave, you made the decision to grind on those lobsters. What prompted that? What did you see that kind of said, yeah, let's take a bunch of these fights?
They died very easily. They died to either 1 Ice 3 or, combination of Thorhammer and Black Shirts. So it was okay, I could throw my party in such a way to keep my White Mage alive so I can exit out with the levels. And, okay, either 1 or 2, basically one round them. And they came up with enough of a giant party ladder that it's just okay, I've got some levels. I'm usually getting initiative. It's the checkboxes of can I survive this party? Back? Yes. Is it got a decent enough experience to where I can get it? Yes. I mean, that's sort of why. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just you get enough of a pack together. You have enough things to one round it. I mean, it's sort of the whole, is it worth a grind tile when you can run around things? And I really didn't see anything too dangerous until after the first few fights, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess my question is more you took a few more fights after your White Mage went down. I'm just wondering, was that just I've already put in these fights, I might as well try to get my black belt up to 20 and then go.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's I still had God, I forget how many heal pots I had, but it was just I'm still have Thorhammer. What Thorhammer rolls high, it's basically almost one-shotting them most of the time. We're getting down a lot of the party to 2-round them. I've got a decent amount of evade on that one. They aren't poisoning me. They aren't killing me outright on that kind of stuff. And it was okay, throw a ribbon on, throw 1 or 2 small things on that one. And the black belt usually has a pretty good chance of avoiding it all. And
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you. Now that the Sky Week's over, is there any particular flag set you're looking at for next week? For the random flag set
I
that
would
we're
just
gonna run?
not want Earth again.
I don't mind any of them. I mean, Sky, I did what I could, but as they said, sorcerers had Duke, and getting out of Marsh alive was more of just like, that was when I was like, that and just, thought about it. As I said, for party chains, but just, checked where I could. And also, the early defense sword meant just like, okay, yeah, I could probably put that on the black belt, and having a fighter just, as I said, I was planning to swap off either or, and just fighter died early, so got a few more levels on the black belt. It's just like, when you get to a C, where it's just like you're started to be priced into it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get y'all's final thoughts and go ahead and wrap this on up. So, Guelph, we'll start with you, jump to Mageius, and then we'll call it from there.
Again, good race. I'll be interested in watching the VOD to see just how evil the seed could have been.
You don't want to know. If you saw what I saw, and you would have felt like exactly what I felt, because it's just like there were points where it's just like beating your head against the wall after literally getting some success at going through it.
The nice thing when that happens in a practice seat is you can just rage quit.
I mean, there's nothing stopping you from rage quitting during this except public humiliation.
But for next week, I'm looking forward to the 2-2 bracket. Maybe get myself into the last chance qualifier.
I mean, actually, even if you go 4-2, you got it into the play-in race on that one.
Right. I figure
Yep,
even if I make the last chance qualifier, that's a decent showing.
I mean, I'm hoping to make it as well on that one, and I mean, this was the type of seed where it's just like I would love to give this to a top runner, like one of the 3-1s or 4-0s, and see like, hey, you haven't seen the seed? Come here.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
No.
Try this seed.
Throw it up.
Literally.
No, throw it up in flags and seeds. Tell them I rolled it. I'm sure you'll get a couple of people willing to bite.
One of you can do that, because I need to literally go offline and just, I'd say the whole old school get a shower, just wash that stink of that seed off.
Yeah, no, that is completely understandable. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Mageius, I know I said this in SRL, but I'm gonna say it again. Do not let this one hang on you, man. This was bad for one of my seeds with some of the stuff that was in there.
I mean, we had Nuke on the sorcerers, which automatically meant, hey, Ice Cave, Sky, or Deals. All three of those had Nuke.
Yeah,
That's
and
counting
Sky
the whole fact. That's not even counting the whole fact of when you had the. I think I even saw that in Waterfall. Was it Waterfall?
No, they're not in Waterfall, but they are on Skyfloor, and that unrunnable pack that you saw in Ice Cave, that's the A side of the Sorcerer encounter on Airfloor in Topher.
Ew.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, this is legitimately well, you do not know how much of a bullet you dodged.
Yeah.
You honestly don't.
Yeah, now fortunately, off of Power Cycle, it looks like you wouldn't have seen that pack anyway going through Topher, but that was something that Pleb and I were just, when Guelph was running through, it was just like, if he sees this encounter, he dies. You do not survive that fight. One of them will get turn order and nuke.
6 casts of nuke in a battle? Anybody seen that before? I mean, I remember seeing Unsafe Pirates with the knife pack on that one, but...
I've seen bad men with nuke. Or it was either bad men or evil men with nuke, so...
You usually don't see more than 2 of them.
Yeah, but in a pack where you can get like 6 to 9 of them.
Yeah, whichever one is that 9-pack on Phantom Floor and Topher, that I've seen that have nuke before. It was exactly as unpleasant as it sounds. But,
yeah, but by then you'll at least have the levels to at least be able to tank it or dodge it. In this case,
yeah.
I couldn't even check certain chests because of that one.
Oh yeah. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and clear on out of here, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching all the way through. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Pleb, you want to go ahead and take us out of here? Because, aside from thanking Sunny and thanking you for joining us, I think I'm good. Pleb, your mic's not working.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody coming out to watch this slog of a race on Speed Gaming 6. I'd like to thank Wout and Sunny for helping out with the... And I'd like to thank our runners for putting on a good show through a ridiculously hard season.
Yeah. All right, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Literally where my losses come from are seats like this. Which, well, throw that seat up on the Discord, please.
Will do.
People, it's like legitimately, get some of the top runners to run that, and then tell them how they would have felt running through the seed, and if or not they would have lost if their opponent hadn't seen it.
Yeah. Speaking of top runners,
I'll throw it
though,
up there.
at 9:30 tonight Eastern over on Speed Gaming 2, Asher and Crab Cakes are going to be going head to head. So if you do want to see some of the top runners in the community go at it. And if you enjoyed Pleb's voice, those will both be back at 9:30 tonight. So until then, take care, everyone. We'll see you on the flip side.